Today, we're going to talk about the manufacturing industry in a global context, with a focus on US and China. Before we start, let's first understand what the manufacturing industry is. Manufacturing is the use of machines, tools, and labor to produce goods for use or sell. It is commonly applied to industrial production in which raw materials are transformed into finished goods on a large scale. Economy has a huge impact on the manufacturing industry. Take the US as an example. As we can see first from this chart of the United States GDP growth rate, ever since the financial crisis took place in 2007, US economy started going down and reached the bottom in the year of 2009. The same happened to US manufacturing production. We see a sharp drop from the year of 2007 to 2009. So how is US manufacturing doing now? Our group interviewed Mr. Louis Hayden, Vice President of Pressure Technology Codes and Standards for American Society of Mechanical Engineers. He talked about the current status of the industry.
I think you've seen over the last few years, particularly with the financial crisis we've had going on worldwide, essentially. But the growth in the GDP has slowed down a little bit. The companies that have been successful, that are US-based companies, have internationalized, and in doing so, they've been able to bolster their income through partnering and profiting from international business. Some of that's been service, some of it's been hard goods. The U.S. still imports essentially more than we export every year. There is a trade deficit, country by country, but it's getting a little smaller lately, particularly with the weak dollar. And we're talking economics and not engineering at this point, but economics and engineering are joined at the hip. One doesn't function well without the other. So in reality, the struggles that the corporations have had are not over. They actually will never be over.
But there are also exceptions. The survived companies may benefit from economic crisis. In our interview in a middle-sized company, FMI, which is a contract manufacturer for the household and personal care products industries, the company president, Mr. Kevin Rhodes, commented,
the U.S. economy, while it's affected, the downturn in the U.S. economy in the last 3 years has slowed our progress and our growth remarkably, but in some ways it's also helped us as a company because we've had a couple of competitors that have actually gone out of business. Okay, so they've hit trouble, and then we've been able to take advantage of that, and so we picked up some business from that.
So what's the impact of government policies on the industry? Here is Mr. Rhodes' first reaction.
Oh, that's a good one. Don't get me started on government. Well, government, we have to realize our industry, especially our skin care and hair care products that we make, and personal care products that we make, are regulated by the Food and Drug Administration, the FDA. We also make a couple of products that are regulated by the EPA.
One of our group members recently interviewed the regional director of a Singapore-based manufacturing company in a big city of China. He told her that Chinese government offers favorable policies for overseas companies to invest and set up production facilities in China. For example, the rents they pay are much lower than the local companies. Policies like this could date back to 1978, when China had its economic reform called 改革开放 to transform China's planned economy to a market economy, and one big component of which is to open up of the country to foreign investment and permit entrepreneurs to start businesses. Manufacturing has grown dramatically since then. In this chart of manufacturing output, we can see that the blue line is US, and the red one is China, which is growing almost exponentially. In this graph of US share of world manufacturing output 1970 to 2009, we can see that US share of world manufacturing output since 1970 reached its peak around 1985 and then starts dropping to only 18.3% in 2010. This is not only due to economy and government policies, but also globalization. Companies are profits-driven. Many U.S. companies that are successful have internationalized in the past few decades and opened factories abroad. They are attracted by the cheap labor and huge markets abroad.
You have to make a profit and a return on your investment. So unfortunately, some workers' jobs are gone from the U.S. It's a cycle, and it will eventually, the whole standard of living of the world, of human beings in the world, will gradually increase.
Today we discuss the impact on manufacturing industry from economy and government, with special attention to U.S. and China. Globalization brings challenges and opportunities to both. To U.S. in particular, it results in job outsourcing and therefore higher unemployment rate. However, on a global level, all humans' life standards will be raised up.